Well, happy 4th of and month of July, Oxford, and welcome back to episode 15 of The Running Commode, a 30-minute show spotlighting local businesses that can help you with the running of your home. I'm Mark Raymond, your friendly neighborhood property manager, and I'm joined by...
Eric Hodge, your local home inspector.
Well, it looked like you were having a great time out there at the Oxford golf outing.
Oh, it was a blast.
Man.
It was such a good time. Great weather.
Beautiful.
Great people. It was so much fun.
Beautiful.
This is the first time I actually got to go out at all this year so far, and I surprisingly didn't lose a ball until like probably the 7th hole. So that's a win for me.
Okay, well, we won't even talk about that, right? So I've been watching your videos lately, and I love that line that you have.
Flippers be flipping.
Our flippers they are still flipping.
They are still, and they're flipping heavy, which is,
absolutely.
makes great content, but it's crazy the stuff you see out there.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad you're seeing it and it's reaching people.
Absolutely. Well, we've got two great guests for you here today, and we're going to be seeing that in just a minute. I'll be introducing the first one coming up on The Running Commode. Well, his crews go to battle every day with razor-sharp chainsaws, massive cranes, and Mother Nature herself. From battling devastating emerald ash borer devastations or infestations to surgically dismantling multi-ton hazards towering over local homes, he is the man Oxford calls when the canopy fights back. Welcome to the show, ISA certified arborist, Arbor Tree Service, Bob Brinker. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Thank
With
you.
that intro,
Thank
I was waiting for explosions, like big summer blockbuster movies always sounded like
Somebody to fly in with a cape. I mean,
Mark,
come on.
Mark makes it exciting, no doubt about it.
Right.
We try. Well, so let's start right off with a question that everybody's going to ask. Why hire an arborist?
Arborists can evaluate your property. They can evaluate what's gonna happen maybe in 5-10 years. It's an investment. It's your house, your investment, your single most important investment you're ever going to make, probably. Trees, they're a great resource to your property. Heating and cooling, whatever. So you're going to have an arborist out there taking a look at it. With our company, we have 3 different sales arborists, including myself, that go out from Arbor Tree, and we actually look at your property. The questions that we get usually a lot of times is this tree worth saving? What can I do to it? Is it worth keeping? Can we trim it? Should we remove it? We're going to answer that for you. So, and we're going to do it with an open mind and, try to work with you guys in your budget and everything else. So,
And break down the term arborist, because there's, you see the guys that drive like, hey, I see this tree's got some, I can take care of that. What's the difference between that guy and an arborist?
An ISA certified arborist, for example, will have to pass a 200-question test by the ISA certified board, which will basically validate your credentials, right? As far as what you know about trees, their biology, soils, whatever. Yes, you can get anybody to cut something that's on the ground, and that's fine. We're not going to be all things to all people either. But when it comes to actually precise pruning, thinning, removals, plant health care on these spruce trees that are just devastated by needle casts, we do programs to that. We try to save the trees more so than remove them. Yes, we do removals, but yeah, we'll give you an honest assessment mostly.
Because it's just more than just like, oh yeah, we'll just get some of that dead out of there. Like you'll be able to identify like, well, this is what's going on. Because I know trees have seasons of when you can and cannot do stuff because you can damage them and that. I mean, I'm assuming the arborist portion where the certification is having the knowledge that's going to preserve the tree.
Correct.
And promote the health of the tree, but also
Correct.
get to the main goal of clearing it out or whatever you want to do.
There's sometimes with oak trees and elm trees you can't do in the summertime because of oak wilt and Dutch elm. So you have to, put them on a fall or winter pruning schedule.
And you can do that stuff in the winter.
We do that stuff in the winter. Most people think we don't work in the winter. My goodness, we want to work for you in the winter. We're super busy in the summer. We like to come out in the summer, obviously, because we can identify a lot of hazards and other things a little easier. Yes, we can still do it in the wintertime too. Yes, please call us.
Well, that was because it's so funny we're here today because literally yesterday I'm looking at this oak tree in my backyard, and I knew we couldn't do anything until the fall or winter for that stuff. But my mother-in-law was there, and she's like, "How do they identify what's bad in the middle of winter when there's nothing growing on it? So how do you do that?"
So you can tell from the buds if there's no bud activity up there. You can tell by deadwood. You can tell deadwood flaking. For us, it's fairly easy to see. Like a mechanic can see a Corvette from the 60s coming down a road a mile away. We can as well too with the canopy of the tree without the leaves. Yes, it's always easier, in the summer. Have us out in the summertime to look at it, and also as well too, and we'll give you a program. Sometimes it's just not worth saving. Sometimes there's, it's in decline. Sometimes people put sidewalks through root zones, and the majority of the trees, root zones live within 12 to 18 inches of the top of the soil. So
Yeah, they like to go after those sidewalks, which winds up being a trip hazard for me in my work. And
my work, I got to point those out too.
Or the sewer incursions, which are always fun too.
Right.
Well, let's shift into a little bit the history here with Arbor and Davy. Arbor was acquired by Davy Tree, correct?
correct.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, this Arbor tree had been around for about 32 years. The acquisition happened in 2023. And Arbor Tree has done a really good job at homeowners associations, condominium complexes, as well as residential properties. It became an acquisition of the Davy Tree Expert Company located in Kent, Ohio. I myself personally have been with Davy since 2008, and I was a manager over at a different location in Chesterfield on the east side of Davy. And after the acquisition, I came over here to Arbor and was able to meet a lot of really amazing people and continue the great work that we've been doing for years with Arbor Tree.
And Davy has this institute, if I'm not mistaken, where it's like a lab, right? Do you have access to that? And
We do, absolutely. We have it's called a seed campus, and we have entomologists, tree people that will we can take samples in, pictures in, whatever, mail it, and get results within 2 weeks, which is really, really
Very
amazing.
cool.
This is if you're trying to identify like a disease with the tree.
Disease with the trees, if like say for example an elm tree has Dutch elm, you don't know, get a small sample, mail it in to them within 2 or 3 days. They'll usually mail it right back in their lab with the diagnosis to make sure. We pretty much know, but it's always nice on some of those occasions to find out exactly for sure.
Because that affects like if there's a tree that has a certain type of disease, how you're going to attack it, right? Like if
Correct.
if it can be saved, if it can't be saved, if you're going to prune it, what you're going to.
We do not enjoy telling people, yes, we can try to save it, and then have them dump some money into it, and then 2 or 3 years down the road have to remove it anyways, right? So we will be honest and upfront, but yes, that is a tool in our toolbox that we could use. So.
Very cool.
Very scientific.
So as a property manager, every once in a while I'll get these door hangers that say, hey, we're coming by to cut the trees along the power lines. You do that, right? Your company.
We do, yes. It can be a point of contention, I'm not going to lie to you, once in a while, and that's fine. Unfortunately, with all the power lines that are above and overhead, unfortunately, with these trees in these subdivisions, they do approach that, and they call for the DT specs, and with most utility companies, a 10-foot buffer, right? And every 3 to 5 years, depending on what pruning cycle it is, they're on there. Yes, the trees can sometimes be in a less desirable situation after they leave, but they're just trying to trim back 10 feet.
And it's that balance between convenience and security, right? I mean, people are going to complain when there's a power outage, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So, we're mitigating that. It's the ice storm mitigation, right?
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Correct. The easier example would be just to do with these newer subdivisions and just put the power underground, but that can't always be.
When the infrastructure's already there, they're not going to
already
change
there.
it all
They're not
around.
going to
Well, job security for you. You know? You got to keep doing that.
We'll
but I do
always be
say that, I mean, you get some pretty cool tools because like where I'm at is a little bit marshy, and they have lines that go right through there, and they had this sweet little, I don't know, boat-looking thing. So it was kind of cool. You get some pretty sweet equipment you get to use for this stuff, right?
We have Argos, we have the Davy Resource Group, which does wetlands. We have a commercial division. We do residential. We're here to help out, just call
Fascinating stuff. And we're going to be back with you in just a minute. We're coming up on a break, but we'll be back with Bob Brinker with Arbor Tree Service right after this.
Welcome back to the Running Commode. Again, I'm Eric Hodge here with you, along with
Mark Raymond.
Awesome. We're talking with Bob Brinker here from Arbor Tree Service. And one thing when checking out some research on this to talk with you is you guys get some pretty advanced technology for things. And that maybe you can help break this down for me. Because, you look at a tree, me, a homeowner, and I go, it looks fine. But then you get you guys coming on out doing with some of your advanced technology and tools.
Yep.
Like, what's this sonic tomography?
Yes,
How do I say
yes.
that? Is that right?
Sure.
It's good either way.
For years we've used which is and we're just starting to get into that, but we used a wristograph, and we actually can take it's a really complicated tool. It almost looks like a gun from the movie Ghostbusters, right? But you can it's a small drill, and you actually have a piece of paper, and when you push the button with the battery operated, the drill moves into the center of the tree, and it will actually decipher the hardness of it, where if there's rotted wood inside, whatnot. And you have an entire printout. So you pull it back out and you can look and see, depending on what the hardness and whatnot, and that gives you a great illustration without cutting a tree down, how the inside of the tree is, the health of it, if there are any conchs on the bottom of it, which are mushrooms, for example.
Gotcha.
And you can tell if there's rotted or decayed wood with that.
And that doesn't damage the tree by doing that.
Drilling through anything is history. Remember, the living tissue on a tree is a cambium layer. It's just the vascular system is just outside of that ring, just inside of the bark. So that's why, for example, people that nobody really does it anymore, I hope they don't, but chain their dog to the tree.
Oh, yeah.
And you see the dog chain go around and around, and it eventually girdles a large silver maple or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes, drilling through all you're doing is drilling through history.
Man, that is crazy, the technology for that stuff.
So going on with our different terminologies, there's this term called multi-stem, right? What does that mean?
So multi-stem would be a tree that when you plant it in its early stages and it grows, it's 2 or 3 codominant leaders that split up. Okay, that is not necessarily great because it creates weaker branch structure and V in the union where it's prone to break during storms. Okay. Super important when you have a younger tree to try to get a dominant leader for the first, trim off the bottom branches, or you see a small tree you're planting right now at at your local garden store or a big box store, you buy a little $30, $40 whip or whatever we call it. Make sure that those things do not have 2 small ones that are codominant and is splitting, because those things are a problem. Pick one of them, clip it off, prune it off, have one going up. Those are the best trees long term for branch structure.
Go ahead.
No, good.
You go into these historic multi-stem trees, though, right? I mean, there's got to be some other sensitivities sometimes, and they're dangerous, right? There's some danger. You have overhanging limbs in a child's bedroom or something, So you use cabling systems, if I understand that. Can you go into some details about that?
So what we can do for you in a large tree is we can go out and take a look at it and assess it. If it does need cabling, for example, we can go into, in a normal situation, into a large tree, say, for example, an oak tree, and we can put about 2/3 of the way up in the canopy a triangle shaped on the major leaders into an actual cable itself, which will help with the tension. It's not going to be end all be all if a tree fails. And a lot of times what happens if a branch fails, with that in there, it'll swing away from the bedroom, right? If you're over a house, and drop, as opposed to just dropping. But it does help keep the tree around.
Kind of like having a crew there that's not there in advance, proactive.
And you got to be careful with cables, because when you put a cable up in a tree, a lot of times you really have to ask the question, is this tree safe? And that gets into also other issues.
Well, is it also because, when the multi-stem, it creates like a little crook though too, can't water collect in between these two, and that can eventually lead to damage to the
So
tree?
when we're up there, our climbing arborists will actually look to make sure there's no decaying in there, because sometimes we get it wrong, and we're almost to that point where we're going to be, in a handful of years running, drones right up to take a look at some of the canopies and stuff. We're
Machines
there.
are taking over.
We are there.
Yeah.
We are.
Sending a drone up there versus a human,
Yeah. And for sure.
for safety as well too. I did want to ask you about this because I have the subdivision was built in 1978, so the hard pan around the trees and everything like that. Like when you try and provide nutrients for trees, like can it penetrate that soil when that soil is just foot traffic and lawnmowers and people walking on it and it's like concrete but it's still dirt?
Soil compaction is one of the most destructive things to a root zone. Soil compaction, new construction, new builds. You know, a lot of times people, they'll pay extra, 20, 30, 40% or more for a wooded lot, right, to build on. They'll build on it, they'll have all this compaction, soil on top of it. Not only did they pay extra money for that lot, within 3 or 4 or 5 years, they'll end up paying even more money to take those trees down because of the compaction. Just 2 or 3 inches on top of a mature tree and with compacting soil will absolutely kill that mature tree that's lived for 30, 40, 50 years or more.
So what do you? Is there anything you can do? Like let's say if you're already an established, subdivision and you want to help
For sure.
get there, what do you do?
We have feeding programs that go into the soil on 3-foot centers that'll push, with nitrogen, potash, potassium within, with 150 psi. There's air spade that we can do with air knives that go in and decompact the soil. Soil amendments, have an arborist out and they'll take a look at it. If we can do something for you, we'll let you know. If not, we'll tell you we can't do anything.
And for our viewing audience, in terms of having an arborist out, when you come out to do a consultation, is there a cost associated with the consult?
There is not. We do free estimates and consultations, for normal. Obviously we do some city and other things that are more a larger spec that we do charge, but the normal everyday 95% of the people that call us up, yes, we're going to come out, take a look at you and give you a properly assessment of your property, and we'll be able to do it for the low cost of $0 US.
$3.99.
Excellent.
So for a layman with trees like me, hey, that's maple and that's oak, and then after that, it's like, okay, a pine tree, and then I'm like, I don't know. So what things should I be looking at for like invasive species or even disease? What are some easy things for the layman to be like, hey, this doesn't look right, or that shouldn't be here?
Probably in this area, the number one problems that we're seeing are what you call pines. Everybody calls them pines. They're spruce trees, right? These blue spruces. You see the bottom 7 or 8, 9 feet thin, and as it gets taller, it gets thicker, right? That's needle cast. It's a fungus. These trees really shouldn't have been planted here. They were brought in over 50, 60 years ago, Colorado area, where they don't have the humidity. They're in this area. We spray for them because a lot of times those are super important. They're already established 40, 50 years. We spray them with a systemic fungicide, and that holds them at bay and keeps that privacy that everybody so wants, right? Tries to keep that in act. That's number one. You see the browning and the blacking of those needles in those lower areas. Fungals love low areas, right? Not sun, no air, very little anything.
So in the few minutes that we have left, tell us a little bit about the future plans for Arbor Tree, if you can, and Davy Tree in this area.
We just want to continue what we've been doing in the last, 30 years for Arbor and since 1880 for Davy, which is...
Wow, that's crazy. 1880.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Longer than some of these trees you're probably working on.
trees.
I was just going to say, you're cutting down trees, counting rings. That one was here, that one wasn't. Okay.
I had the fortunate luxury of going with my daughter 4 weeks ago to D.C. and we saw Mount Vernon and some of the trees that George Washington planted. Some of the elms and the tulips and stuff like that was amazing. And that's what we're, as a tree geek and everything else, what we love to do. I mean, we love to take a look. You guys, even in this area in Oxford and Lake Orion and whatnot, we have some of the nicest trees.
Oh, we do.
And we love to see it. We love to see if we can help you guys out. And we look forward to continuing to be around, like you guys had mentioned, the chainsaw people that come out, they may be out of business in 3-4 years. Right. We will not be out of business.
Yeah.
Well, Bob Brinker with Arbor Tree.
Right? Like you said, the tree geek's the way to go.
We're so glad that you are on the show, Bob Brinker with Arbor Tree Service.
Bob. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much. It was very informative. We greatly appreciate you.
Thank you.
Well, coming up after the break, we're going to have another guest. We'll take you all the way up from the tree canopy to underfoot. Welcome back. Your home's worst nightmare might not be that large overhanging tree. It could be the trip hazards, buckling carpets, or cracked floors lurking right under your feet. When homeowners are ready to tear out their hair over wrinkled carpet or outdated floor tiles, this company steps in to save your safety, your sanity, and your property values. Leading an all-in-one transformation team, they have turned a premier local showroom into Oakland County's absolute authority on underfoot restoration and design. Joining us today is powerhouse co-owner of Cutter Rug Flooring, Stephanie King.
Hi,
coming,
thank you
Stephanie.
so much for
Appreciate it.
having me.
You're
I'm super
excited.
excited. Yes, me
You
too.
too. This is awesome.
This is great.
So how did this all start with Cutter Rug?
Well, my husband, he's been installing for about 25 years now. And so we decided, you know what, we can do this. And we pride ourselves on customer service and making sure, our customers know exactly what they're getting into. And we hear, other stories from a lot of other, customers coming in where, what they've heard and, have had happen to them. So we're super excited to just continue to help people and educate people and grow the business as a family-owned, company here in Lake Orion and Oxford. So
Because there's no shortage of options when it comes to flooring. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot out there, and it can definitely be overwhelming. So having someone to help kind of guide the client into here's what options might work best. But I mean, what are you seeing right now? Is there anything trending? Because I feel like carpet is almost the thing of the past, and it's all like luxury vinyl plank, but some of it's cheaper looking, some of it's not. So what are you guys seeing most people go with right now?
No. So the trend is kind of gray was in for a while. Everybody did gray. So we've seen that kind of step down a little bit, and honey oaks, warm tones are in right now. Carpet is still just as big as vinyl plank. I always, it's all personal preference too. So, but if you like carpet in your bedrooms, I always say, when you wake up in the morning, your feet, warm underneath, and and depending on your lifestyle, I always ask kids, pets, if the elderly, do they have wheelchairs? Do they have walkers? It's important because you don't want them to, we're just trying to sell you something, let's get you into this and just sell them, something that's not going to work for their lifestyle. So.
And you get better grip on stairs with carpet, right?
Oh yes. We've actually, and it's very, a lot of people do both. But we've had some customers of ours, actually fall downstairs that they had just moved into a nice condo, and she had nice vinyl plank stairs, and she's like, I just have to put carpet. I just have to put carpet.
Even a runner.
Yes.
Do you guys do runners too?
Yeah. So we do. We work with a local binder, so we can pick out some really nice pattern carpet, get the edges bound, and then there's a couple different ways you can put them on stairs. There's the Hollywood style or the waterfall. The Hollywood looks a lot nicer when it goes over the cap and it runs down. So, but
Is it more fancy? Is that why it's called Hollywood style?
Yeah, you're going a little bit extra. It takes a little bit more time, a little bit more skill, and
That's cool.
That's awesome.
yeah.
Well, one thing, and I come across this all the time with carpets, because people will try and extend the life of the carpet, probably beyond what is the life of a carpet typically? How long is it?
Well, so we see most people come in at about 20, 25, 30 years where they're like, okay, we need to change. It's done. It's had its time, and I always tell everybody too, what takes your everyday life, your floor.
Yeah.
Your floor does everything and has to hold up to your family, your friends, your pets, your kids, toys, just, everything happens on your floor. Yeah. And people don't think of it that,
Right? Yeah, it's just a covering.
Yeah.
But it's more than that.
Yeah, so you want something to last.
As a property manager, 25 to 30 years would be a pipe dream for me. So, but in terms of just wholesale, you also do repairs.
Yes.
Walk us through that. That's intriguing to me.
So my husband, he will come out and do the repairs. We get calls all the way from, dogs by accident got locked in, the room and they clawed the entire doorway seam, or, cat damage. We've had, customers, their kids spilled a whole bottle of nail polish on their brand new carpet, and it was bright red on a nice white carpet, so.
Of course.
I had a squirrel get into a vacant home.
Or
Let me tell you.
or or that. I haven't heard that one yet, but
Yeah.
that would be interesting.
Yeah.
It probably would do a lot more damage than you would think.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, what about what I come across all the time? Obviously, and I've seen plenty of floors, carpets that are just like trashed just
Yeah.
because they're way past their life.
Yeah.
But one thing I see all the time is like ripples. Like the it's loose carpeting and that. So
Yeah.
you guys do restretching? Is
Yes,
that-
we do restretching as well, and we love to be able to help, because a lot of people have been living with it for 10, 15 years.
Kind
and
of
have,
house blind to it.
or just didn't know who to call. And so, we love.
Not everybody does it.
No,
That's
no.
when you guys said you did that. I'm like, oh, thank God, I got someone to refer because
Yes.
it's also a tripping hazard.
Oh, it gets worse over time. It doesn't go away.
You're right.
It
Yeah, it
just
doesn't fix
continues.
itself,
Right.
right?
It just keeps getting worse, and especially with the elderly,
Mm-hmm.
they'll shuffle their feet more and become really safety hazards.
When it
for them.
shures like that, do you have to do anything with the pad, or do you just stretch
Not
over the top?
normally, every situation's different, every circumstance is different. So we can go in there, assess what's happening, and we'll move furniture out of the way, stretch it the way it needs to go, get it on that tack strip, really, really good. And we do flood damage as well. Here living in Michigan, we do have a lot of rain, so we do pad replacement.
Did you replace the pad without replacing the carpet,
Yeah.
or is it like they're both
Yeah,
gone?
no. So if the carpet is still good and usable, you dry it out, call restoration company, make sure that water, is not going to be coming back in, but we can replace tack strips, pad, and then make
Remake
sure.
carpet.
Yeah.
What
yeah.
is the from the time of flood to the time where it's delaminated and no longer usable? When you start the clock on something like that, about how long?
I mean, it all depends. Again, with flooring, we get questions all the time in every single house and
Yeah.
flooring and subfloor and how long things have happened and stayed that way.
How
and-
long do you have the carpet? Is it
Yeah.
older? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's too many variables to
It is, and that's why we have to come out, and we do free estimates.
Oh, okay.
And, we do free measures. We
Good.
come out. My husband will come and assess, and we do have a mobile showroom as well. So we always have samples on board if you have questions.
So that's a cool thing. The mobile showroom. Kind of break that down for me
Yes.
because it's brick and mortar. That's what everyone kind of feels, brick and mortar. Then you see stuff online. But how does the mobile showroom work? What is that like?
Well, it's just great. It's just another option for our customers, to be able to shop at home, especially, some of the boards are heavy, and so, not many
Right.
people can check them out from, the store and carry them in the car and bring them in their house. And,
Okay.
you have 4 or 5 different big boards, so we can bring what you're looking for to your home. And so, and I always suggest, make sure, check it out for a day or two, see what it looks like with the blinds open, the lights off, the lights on at night, during the day, because it changes. So when you go into a store and you're like, yeah, I want that, and you bring it home, you're like, wow, what happened to it? Because
it doesn't look like that when in the store.
we hear it all the time. So that's why we always, and we work with our customers. We're not making the sale today, get it sold. We're like, it's okay. It's a big investment. It's your home.
Yeah.
It's, something you want to last and be durable and something you love. Because we do hear again, some people are like, oh, I got this put in a couple years ago and I just wish I wouldn't have, this, isn't working for my family.
Yeah.
And, so that's why I really, work.
Guide them
Yeah.
to what makes the most sense.
Yeah, it's so important, and take your time. Let us know when you have questions. We're going to be here. We're going to continue to grow. We live here. We work here. Our children go to school here. We love to sponsor, anything we can and be part of, the chambers and.
Well, and the local
That's so
aspect is something I
awesome.
wanted to jump into
Yeah.
when we get back with the break
Yeah.
here.
So Stephanie King with Commode Flooring.
thank you so
Thank you so much. We're going to be right back with
Perfect.
you right after this break.
Sounds good.
Stay
Thanks.
tuned.
Welcome back to the Running Commode again with me, Eric Hodge, and
Mark Raymond.
we're here with Stephanie King from Cut a Rug, which I love the name.
Yes.
Stuff it's so cool. And just before the break, we were talking about how you're involved in a lot of local stuff. So, why is it important for you to be involved in not only the local businesses around here, but the community as a whole? Why is that important to you?
Yeah, so community means so much to, friends, family referrals, helping each other, you know, being able to refer others out. Like I love all your videos, and I love, you know, making sure everybody knows who to call, you know, home inspections. And, you know, that again is so important. You're making, like, you know, the biggest investment of your life, and you have to make sure that something you put that money into is not going to, you know, just fall apart, or you hate, or it just doesn't work for your lifestyle.
And have a good network of people. Like if you come across something, you know, this isn't what I do, but I have somebody for you, you know.
Yes.
Which was great. So when you guys said you did carpet restretching, I was like instantly able to, in my reports, like, this is the person to call because I called them out.
Yeah.
So it's I see the importance of being local, but also like you're involved in the schools and stuff like that. You know.
Yeah, we just love to, you know, sponsor, you know, either, you know, a fun run at the elementary or the football game. You know, we'll put a little ad out on that too, and it's really just so cool to see. And
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
yes, and we
Kind of
love
cool
it.
seeing your name in print on something like that, though.
It is.
I enjoy it too. I get it.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, for our viewing audience, if someone's thinking about new flooring, obviously you can bring the mobile showroom out, all of this, but what's the one thing, the one takeaway you want them to remember when it comes to cut a rug?
Well, you know, we're here to help guide you. You know, we're local, we're family owned. We, you know, we sincerely really want to help and not just sell you the cheapest product that you'll just regret or doesn't, you know, hold up. And, you know, we want to find something, but if it all depends. If you're, you know, moving out, you know, you're just looking to sell, or if you're going to be there forever, you know. So, you know, and my husband, he does an absolutely amazing job at, you know, installing. He takes his time. He takes, you know, he makes sure it's done right. And that's another thing. We always want to make sure that, you know, you're paying attention to what goes into the flooring, you know, installation, not just the floors and they're installed, you know, but like, you know, the subfloor, the leveling, the prep, the, you know, moisture barriers, the meter testing, you know, it's all important.
If the floor's not level and you're putting some luxury plank down, that's going to have some.
It's going to,
And then you're like, I just spent all this money and that's what I get. You know,
Yeah.
like, that's great to hear that you guys pay attention to that.
Yeah,
stuff.
and take our time and make sure it's done right.
It also leads me into a question because, yes, total DIY culture that we're in, you know, and there's definitely things that people can take on themselves, you know, whether they really can or can't, they still do sometimes. But what is one flooring aspect you think is like, just call the professional from the get-go? What would be the number one?
I would say carpet.
Carpet?
Carpet. I mean, because luxury vinyl plank is kind of geared for people to be able to do. You know, it's still certain, like the leveling. Some people aren't going to know how to, you know, floor prep properly, and you know, so some are easy to do. But carpet, I mean, it comes in 12-foot rolls. Those rolls are heavy. Those rolls are big. You need to know how to seam properly. You need to, you know, get that tack strip right. We do shoe moldings, baseboards. You know, you just want to make sure that there's so much that goes into, you know. But carpet is definitely something that, you know, call somebody that.
Flippers be flipping.
Flippers be flipping.
I
I'm
love
telling you.
that. I love
The
that.
flippers be flipping question.
It is it.
Yeah,
Yes.
We ask that question a lot too.
Yeah,
We're like,
because I'll
"Whoa."
admit, hey, I attempted it at one time carpet, and then
Yeah.
I was like, I had a seam, and I had the heat gun, and, all,
Oh,
and I was like,
yeah.
and it came out,
Yeah.
but it would definitely be on Flippers Be Flipping. It would not be, you know, as high quality as I'm sure you and your husband would be providing, so I'm glad to
right.
see that carpet is definitely, don't tackle it, have a pro do it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
someone knows what they're doing.
That's for sure. No, but this has been great. We're so super excited to be in the, you know, the community, and we just want to continue to grow and help as many people as we can.
So let's talk a little bit about the future of Cut a Rug.
Yeah, so we
What's your
just
vision for the future?
Yeah, we just want to continue to grow, get more displays, more samples to offer. I'm actually going back for my interior design degree, so I'm halfway there.
Congratulations.
So I'm
That's awesome.
super excited.
Oh, congratulations. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
thank you.
Milestone. Because you got the brick and mortar too now,
Yes.
which is great there, right there in Oxford.
Yeah, so we're at the corner of Drainer and the Pier inside Oxford Vacuum.
Yeah.
So which is great because vacuum's on one side, flooring on the other.
They,
You
yeah.
know, it's
They go hand in hand.
Yeah, but we just want to, you know, be able to offer more, get our name out there more, you know, help more businesses. That we
Do you want to grow as far as like having more crews? Or you kind of like having the smaller?
We always want to probably stay smaller.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to get, you know, too big to where we start losing what we really, you know, work hard for. You know, the quality and, you know, and the customer service, and I do all the calls, all the scheduling. I love talking to my customers.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get off the phone and I'm like, 20 minutes in, I'm like, I feel like we're best friends
Oh,
already.
we became best friends, right? Yeah.
That's cool.
I do, yeah.
Any memorable stories when it comes to flooring installs?
I would help out on some, rip ups and stuff. And I just always, there was one that, it was older carpet, older pad, didn't have a moisture barrier on it. It was actually for a friend's house of ours. And we removed the carpet, and the stains on the subfloor of the wood subfloor were just like horror looking. It's from animals, and pets,
Oh,
and
God, yeah.
so
Yep.
because that's what happens if it goes through the carpet and the pad doesn't have a moisture barrier. It goes right to your subfloor, and then that subfloor is just stained in every ounce of that floor. So
So is that like, got to rip the subfloor out? Or
no.
can you treat that?
Yeah, so we'll treat that and make sure, we'll come in, assess, but once you get everything out, clean that up, air it out,
Does Ben do the sanding too? Floor sanding and refinishing?
We don't do refinishing, so but that's another thing that we like to be able to refer out to our customers, So
Have that local business network of,
exactly. We don't do tile either, because that's, again, it's its own beast,
Yep.
with the grout and the wet saws and
Yeah,
the
and
tile and So, but we do LVP, LVT, which is luxury vinyl plank or luxury vinyl tile. So we can do tile looks for bathrooms, entryways, that type of thing. And then the plank look is the wood look, throughout. So
The luxury vinyl tile, is it?
it looks like tile, but it's not tile. So you don't have to worry about grout and every, and all
Very cool.
the maintenance of that. So,
And that's the draw. I mean, is that why you've been seeing a big draw to people with those type of products? Because they are so low maintenance. And I remember when they first came out, like the click together fake wood, and like, oh, you can scratch with your keys and it's making marks, It's like, oh, that's the big selling feature.
yeah, and you still can do that, And so, but yeah, it's just, and then the vinyl plank, and then the carpet usually goes on stairs and bedrooms. We do rubber gym flooring, so we do gym floors,
wow,
and so my husband's actually done a few putting greens on a
if
deck.
we do- okay.
So
All right.
AstroTurf. We do sheet vinyl, laminate, engineered hardwood.
Okay.
Hardwood,
And do you guys do any commercial applications?
Oh,
Or
yes. Yeah. So we do residential and commercial. We've done that little entryway inside round one at, Great Lakes Crossing.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So we've, helped them repair that area and replace that for them. And we've done a couple other local businesses. And
Oh, that's great.
yeah.
That's
Well,
great.
Stephanie and Ben
Yes,
came.
it's Ben.
Right?
Yes, Ben.
Hey,
Thank
Ben,
you.
out there working.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
We're so
Great
excited.
job.
Thank you.
Well, coming up next month, we're going to be joined by Katie Cadman of Affinity Organizing and Eric Reno of Paramount Roofing. So keep an eye out for the next episode of The Running Commode dropping in August. For now, Eric and I hope you have a continued great summer. Thanks for your time and attention, and we'll see you soon.